Thank you. Commissioner Woodward, if you'd please call out the names for those to speak at Matters by the Public.
I'm going to call out the first four. We have David London, Kevin, Mercy H., and Krishna Madan.
Okay, David London. In 2004, when two spacecraft landed on Mars, they didn't crash. They bounced 37 times. Isn't that amazing? You don't need to have crashes here. All the cost, the PBSO crash, the insurance cost, the lives lost. You had a simple design solution that some highly inventive people, NASA people, came up with. Well, when Elon Musk came up with his, he sought funding for bailout money to get funding for what he wanted to do. A consortium of aerospace and automobile companies adopted that technology. You wouldn't have crashes in any way, shape like what we had before. But unfortunately, Elon Musk won the day, even though, because I read all that stuff and I saved all that stuff at the time. You can't, it's very hard to find right now. It's buried away. So every time I was reading a story in Sunday's paper about Palm Beach Teacher of the Year, she lost her son, I think, a number of years ago because of a crash. So we had a better way of doing things. It's not a political thing. Voting for Joe Biden, who lost a few people in his life, or voting for Donald Trump, it wouldn't make any difference. And AI is not the solution. Doing all the AI that they're going to come up, it'll be self-driving cars. However, you had a simple design solution. And I can give you examples throughout almost all areas of medicine and technology where some simple things like that have been proven, have developed. The company spent $3 to $4 million writing up everything. Apparently, they didn't pay off enough people. Now, the person who finally decided no to that whole thing was our newest Supreme Court Justice. Because she, before she became Supreme Court Justice, was the person who decided. And from what I remember, she said, well, the head of the DOE is no longer there. So this is what's going on all along. And it's like, when you drive here, probably everyone here drove here, or I didn't. It's like a war zone. You have to think about, because we have all these design failures at every level, you got all this political nonsense and looking to solve problems or create problems with all these the military approach. So just something to think about. You could do something about it even today. You can have students try to, as an exercise, crash vehicles and try to come up with a design like that.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Kevin Sullivan. I have tremors. I hope my shaky hands won't be a distraction. Israel bonds were originated by David Ben-Gurion, the country's first Zionist leader in 1951. He saw the bonds as a support system in times of crisis. If there's one indisputable fact, it's that Israel is definitely not in a crisis. Here's the proof. In terms of per capita income, Israel ranks 15th in the world out of 145 countries. That places it above Germany, France, and the United Kingdom. Regionally, Israel has the third strongest economy in the Middle East, right behind Saudi Arabia, and that's significant considering that it isn't an oil producer. Global firepower ranks Israel's military capability at 15th out of 145 countries. As a sidebar, Hamas's meager arsenal couldn't even achieve a ranking. Most notably, Israel's population of 10 million people places it at 98th in the world. No other country comes even close in its ratio of size to economic and military strength. All of this stature is due in large part to the fact that since 1946, Israel has received close to $350 billion in support from the United States. That's close to twice as much as any other country. To put it more succinctly, over $4 billion American taxpayer dollars have been routed to Israel every year for the past 80 years. And for the past 30 months, Israel has concentrated all of its economic and military might to assault Gaza, a territory that's smaller in size than the city of Tampa, with a tonnage of weapons equivalent to more than 6 Hiroshima nuclear bombs. And if you're not aware of that, it's probably because Israel has murdered more journalists in Gaza than the total number that were killed in World War II, Vietnam, and Afghanistan combined. So, with all of this irrefutable truth before you, a question remains. What objective moral rationale does Palm Beach County have for continuing to invest taxpayer dollars in Israel bonds?
Thank you, sir. Next up,
Hello, Mercy H. here from a private residence, Palm Beach County. So many of us are reeling right now with the news that the U.S. and Israel paired up to aggress against Iran, and over 165 people were killed at a little girl's school by a bomb. These are mainly little girls who were murdered just going to class. And this leads me to the question, why this pairing up? Why this favoritism for Israel? And it's echoed in our own county here, as $1 billion of our tax dollars have been invested in Israel bonds. Why this foreign government and no other one? What is the favoritism about, especially as Israel continues its genocide against Palestinian families? Our money could be paying for the weapons that are killing people just like us. So I want to ask the commissioners here, in all honesty, is anybody receiving any funding or paid trips or endorsements or other support from AIPAC or other Israel-related groups? And if so, can you say that you are serving the interests of Palm Beach County if you're serving Israel? But before we have you answer, I want to give you an option to invite you to show your support for the people right here in Palm Beach County by passing an ordinance prohibiting public funds from being invested in entities engaged in genocide or occupation. So that's Israel out right there. Second, to better fund local needs during the budget appropriations process that will generate comparable long-term revenue for the county instead of relying on investments like Israel bonds. Thank you.
thank you.
Just to let you know, we have 2 podiums, so you can come up and line up. We have Krishna Madan, Fred Rogers, Nyaya Atashana. I apologize if I mispronounced that name.
Good afternoon. My name is Krishna Madan. As a retired history and English teacher from Broward County, I will point out the historical and humanist aspects of these Israeli bonds, which are essentially bonds for bombs. First, history. Hannah Arendt was a German Jewish academic who was a refugee from Hitler. She spoke about the banality of evil, meaning the numerous ordinary tasks it takes to provide the innocent-looking logistics that evil requires. The evil she was speaking of was the evil of running the concentration camps, but people did simple logistical work that didn't involve actual killing of people. And that's what she meant by the banality of evil. Well, your innocent-looking vote for Israeli bonds has now cost American lives, among others. It has assured Israel of financial and moral support to draw the U.S. into a war with Iran. You gentlemen who write the checks for Israel's wars are examples of a current banality of evil. Regarding literature, we have Hans Christian Andersen and the Emperor's New Clothes. You are like the slavish courtiers who praised the supposed fine clothes of the naked emperor. The third-rate Israeli bonds you buy are as fake as the invisible clothes the crooked tailor was selling. And you are as craven as the courtiers who praised the fake finery. The cowardly courtiers wanted to please the king, and you similarly are desperate to please the kingmaker in American politics, the Israel lobby. But your purchase of these worthless bonds threatens to leave Palm Beach taxpayers as financially naked as the emperor was physically naked. Future historians of this county will criticize your political expediency and the banality of your evil in purchasing these bonds for war. And Israel will continually launch more wars and get us involved in those wars because of the support, the moral and financial support your bonds provide. Future humorists will compare your promotion of these bonds to the praise the slavish courtiers lavished upon the invisible clothes of the king. Both historians and humorists will excoriate your craven submission to the Israel lobby in the same way that Hannah Arendt criticized the faceless bureaucrats of war, and in the same way that Hans Christian Andersen ridiculed the cowardly courtiers of the emperor. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up,
Fred Rogers, Niaya Achana. Like I said, there's two podiums. Please come up.
Hello, my name is Fred Rogers, and I'm an American born here and raised here. I have also lived, studied, volunteered, and worked in the Middle East. I have visited Gaza twice while volunteering with a major NGO that provides healthcare, food, and educational support. From these experiences, I have come to understand that Israel is not, quote, just defending itself. It is seeking the destruction and removal of an entire population through what anthropologists and historians have called settler colonialism. Courts and many academics, including Jewish experts of Holocaust studies, have concluded that what we are now watching is a genocide. I'm here to urge Palm Beach County to stop investing in Israeli bonds. I was stunned to learn that Palm Beach County is the largest holder of Israel bonds in the world. I also understand that you have sought exemptions from your own limits on portfolio concentration to allow for an even larger $1 billion to be invested, comprising over 15% of the portfolio in one issuer's securities. Given the ratings and investment results, and as a retired CFO myself, I find this an appalling amount of risk that you choose to place upon yourselves. Surely you cannot expect anyone to believe that you have gotten to this position via simple fiduciary investment practices. Another state, Minnesota, let their $10 million Israel bond mature last July without renewal and ended their Israel bond trading program. Their motivation was that Israel bonds had been downgraded and were no longer a prudent investment. They claimed that they do not make and have not made investment decisions based on political grounds. Clearly, you cannot make such a claim in Palm Beach County. Yours is a political investment decision and in violation of Florida Statute 218.415. I urge you to end this immoral, political, and ill-advised investment strategy and return to your responsibilities of investing public funds in keeping with prudent fiduciary standards. Given this week's war with Iran, the economics and stability of that region will deteriorate even further. You should get out while you can. Thank you for listening.
thank you.
Hi, my name is Nihaya Chana. I'm a Palestinian-American resident of Palm Beach County. I've spent half of my life growing up in Palm Beach County, but I also grew up in the West Bank. So as a Palestinian, I can tell you exactly what life is like under occupation, and I would invite you all to talk to me separately so that I can tell you exactly how all of this impacts people on the ground, not just with our finances here in Florida, but how it affects real-life people that live abroad. I'm here today to urge you to divest immediately from our county's Israeli bond holdings. Let me be clear. These investments are morally corrupt. Every dollar invested in Israeli bonds helps fund the ongoing genocide in Gaza and the destruction of the West Bank. As a Palestinian, I cannot stand buy while my tax dollars support the systemic murder and starvation of my people. Please do not make me pay for it anymore. This isn't politics. This is complicity in crimes against humanity. Beyond the moral imperative, these are terrible financial investments. Israel's recent attack on Iran has destabilized the entire region, making these bonds increasingly risky and illiquid. Israel has a long history of starting wars that destabilize markets and create economic uncertainty. Why would Palm Beach County tie our financial future to a state that prioritizes regional conflict over stability? The billions of dollars invested in Israeli bonds could do so much right here in our community. Imagine those funds supporting affordable housing for our seniors, mental health services for our children, job training programs for our unemployed, and protecting our environment from climate change. These are investments that build up our community, not fund destruction abroad. This divestment is about who we are as a community. Do we want Palm Beach County to be associated with genocide and apartheid? Or do we want to be known as a county that stands for justice, human rights, and responsible investment? The tide is turning among your constituents and the nation at large. And more people are realizing that supporting these investments and supporting Israel is detrimental to our communities. Your names will forever be tied to these decisions. Do you really want a historical record of being bound to this horrendous and morally corrupt situation? Divest from Israeli bonds now. Invest in our people instead. Thank you very much.
One sec, Commissioner. Administrator Abruzzo, what dollars are invested? Are those interest dollars, or are they dollars that are taxpayer ad valorem dollars?
Thank you, Commissioner. They are not I will say it this way, Mayor. The money invested in Israel bonds is the board's budget to grow investment income. It is not money that would be appropriated towards any projects. I know we often hear speakers speak about that money, as the speaker mentioned, can be invested in affordable housing and things of that nature. That pot of money is the investment income that we hold in investments to earn extra money for you, the board, to then make the decision on what to do with that extra investment income.
How much money have those investments yielded the county
They yield about $35 million a year. We have,
by investing in Israeli bonds?
correct.
In Israel bonds, excuse
So
me.
Madam Mayor, if I may, that's an extra $35 million for you to do things out in the community that you normally would not have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Flores, you're recognized.
All right, we have Les Gomez. Valentina has no last name. Gary Silver. And Bob, private resident.
Good afternoon.
Good
My
afternoon.
name is Les Gomez. I'm speaking in opposition to Palm Beach County's $1 billion investment in Israel bonds. Keeping in mind the clarifications y'all offered at last month's meeting, I'm reiterating two things today. This obscene investment of taxpayer dollars still violates key statutes governing public finance investments designed to protect taxpayer dollars, and it is still actively funding the ongoing genocide in Gaza. The Palm Beach County Comptroller has consistently violated the limit on the percentage of public funds that can be invested in Israel bonds. The initial limit was at 5% of public funds, and you, the whole county commission, have unanimously allowed it to be increased over time to work around this law. For example, in February of 2024, when the percentage limit was at an increased 10%, the comptroller violated this requirement and shortly thereafter requested that the limit be increased again to 15%. Today, the limit is now at 18%, an amount regarded by municipal governance experts as highly risky and irresponsible. This investment in Israel bonds, an entity linked to severe human rights violations abroad, in Palestine, in Lebanon, and in Iran, reflects a conscious decision to betray its community. As local taxpayer dollars are being leveraged to fund death and the destabilization of regions abroad, we are experiencing ICE's escalating terrorization of our local immigrant and Black and brown communities right here daily. It is manipulative to try and make the public believe that financial decisions are being made with our best interests in mind when you're blatantly disregarding public laws and regulations to represent the interests of another country's political agenda. We see through this, and we are watching. To rebuild the trust you have broken, invest in Palm Beach County constituents and model a genuine, honest, and unwavering commitment to your community. Palm Beach County Commissioners and Comptroller, this can look like: stop making investments that directly violate local and state laws and provide avenues for resident input before decisions are made. It can also look like passing an ordinance prohibiting investments of public funds in entities engaging in genocide or military occupations, such as Israel bonds. And lastly, to remove Norman Taplin from the Investment Policy Committee. Hear us. Thank you.
Thank you. Administrator Abruzzo, is there a law preventing us as a board from raising the cap on what we invest in Israel bonds?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Absolutely not. The state law actually explicitly permits the investment in Israel bond. And Madam Mayor, if I may say, because I hear these comments a lot about going over the cap, what some of the public may see is that when the accounts fluctuate, the comptroller is allowed to invest more up to whatever that cap may be. So if they see percentage investments going up, there may be at that point in time during the year more money in the account that allows more investment in Israel bond. I do not believe that anything has ever been violated at any point in time. It is fully up to the Board of County Commissioners to decide what that cap would be and what those investments would entail.
Thank
Madam
you.
Mayor.
Attorney Adi, do you find anything wrong with that statement legally?
No, as to the legality, it's acceptable. We just went through the process internally to make the necessary changes that were made, the amendment recently to the ordinance.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Hey everyone, I'm Valentina, South Florida resident. Thank you both for clarifying that and emphasizing the importance that the commissioners have in these decisions, because you all get to vote on the percentage that is allowed to hit that cap that you just mentioned of how much is voted. So if you wanted to keep it at 5%, which is what the Florida state law says, you could have kept it at that much, but you've unanimously voted to go higher and higher and higher. So that's something that we're against. Now, I'm so glad we have county attorney here. So the reason why I believe that that money could be invested, because there's other bonds. Israel bonds are not the only ones. So you just share there's an amount that needs to be invested to make us, right, the commissioners, to be able to invest in Palm Beach County more money, 35 million. How many other bonds are there? Israel bonds is not the only bonds that are an option, but we choose those bonds purposely. It has been said here in this last month, the reason why these bonds are made are also because of political ideology. This brings me to the core of the violation. Florida Statute 218415, which is crystal clear. Public funds cannot be invested for social or political reasons. Yet that is exactly what's happening here. There is a sound financial justification for this risky bet. This is an investment influenced by political ideology, and in doing so, you're ignoring your fiduciary responsibility to safeguard our money, our taxpayer money. Yes, it is part of this investment money that can go to be invested, but it is our money. It is an insult to your constituents who want to see Palm Beach County invested in clean, stable, and local opportunities. We do not want our money being invested in blood bonds. Now, this pattern of behavior demands accountability. I specifically call on you commissioners who voted to increase the percentage of our funds going into these risky bonds to listen to your constituents, listen to your moral compass, because I know you have one. And therefore, we have specific demands. 1, pass an ordinance prohibiting investments of public funds in entities engaging in genocide or military occupations. 2, to better fund local needs through the budget appropriations process that will generate comparable long-term revenue for the county, that then these risky investments, such as Israel bonds, don't have to happen. So these investments don't have to happen to make us $35 million if we are already investing in things that will make us money on the long term. And 3, to remove Norman Taplin from the Investment Policy Committee that you all appointed him to be a part of. And I demand the comptroller, who's not here today, to stop investments in Israel bonds, to make investments in other bonds, to stop making investments that directly violate local and state laws. Thank you all, and hoping that you all will continue to listen to us, and thank you for answering our questions while you're here.
Administrator Abruzzo?
Thank you. Clarify a couple points, Madam Mayor. Number one, there is no state law that limits us to 5% investment cap. Again, the Board of County Commissioners is the body that decides what the cap is. It could be 5, it could be 100%. It's up to the board. Secondly, the state of Florida has a specific law or statute on the books that explicitly says that local government can invest in Israel bonds. And by the way, it is the only foreign investment bond that the board is allowed to allow the comptroller to invest in. So by state law, it's Israel bonds outside of the confines of the United States or nothing. Also, on the risk analysis, Israel bonds in their entire existence has never missed a payment on principal or interest, ever, and is one of the most safe investments possibly made. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores, you're recognized.
I just wanted to ask the previous speaker, are you a Palm Beach County resident, Valentina? Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have?
Yes, hi. Shifting gears here a little bit. I'm on a different topic altogether here. My name is Gary Silver from Boynton Beach. I just wanted to say that I served in the United States Air Force. I was working as an aircraft mechanic on the F-4 Phantom. It was a fighter aircraft for during the Vietnam.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I had some issues, medical issues when I was in the military, and I had filed claims, when I had gotten out, and my treatment plan, the medical was, totally denied. I didn't get any medical assistance, and I took on the burden of on my own, and total expense. At some point, I joined American Legion about 3 years ago, because I heard that the membership money was going to charity for disabled vets, which I thought was a great charity. There I met another veteran, Maria Brown, and we had talked about some of the claims that I put forth, and this is like 50 years ago, and that they were all denied. She had actually referred me to a veteran, Ron Haltgren, Palm Beach Veteran Service Manager. And long story short, because I would love to have like an hour to tell you about all the positive things that had happened. Ron Haltgren, he had refiled my claims, and I now have 100% medical coverage through the VA, which is outstanding, better late than never. I wanted to let you know that that Ron, I had spoken with Tammy Fields, the Deputy County Administrator, to give her my testimony about Ron Haltgren and the job well done. I also talked to James Green, the Director of Community Service, to also give him my testimony on the outstanding job that Ron Haltgren had performed for me and, again, thousands of other veterans. I'd just like to say, I'm wanting to be the mouthpiece for the thousands of veterans that he has helped, since he's been in this thing. Ron, he was selected by the Florida Panthers as the hero among us that was nationally televised in 2025 in November, and he was selected out of hundreds of other heroes. Okay, Ron was nominated by a vet like myself, and Ron was a Purple Heart recipient and has been awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor as a combat vet. He served one tour in Afghanistan and one tour in Iraq, and he was severely injured, severely wounded with a lot of operations, and And he,
Mr. Silver, just
Yeah.
because your time's up, is there something that you want to ask of
I'm
this
hoping
board?
that the board here could do something very special for, and there's no secret that.
In honor,
that
Mr.
in
Ron?
honor of Ron Hogman, and it's no secret that government officials are vastly underpaid
Please-
and severely understaffed.
Please reach out to my office. We would love to honor him, even present
I
him
would love to
potentially
see
a
picture of
proclamation.
him alongside of yours in this building of Ron Hogman and the, you know, and his title.
I love
It's
that you're aiming for this
well-deserved.
guy. I absolutely love that. But we would absolutely be honored to honor him. And I'm sure Commissioner Sachs would like to chime in on this, so please, Commissioner Sachs.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor. Thank you for acknowledging this gentleman. Sir, if you'd like to, you can just go to my office. It's here on the 12th floor, and tell them exactly what it is you want me to do for him, what you want us to do for him. He is a wonderful man. He should be honored. His office is right next to my office on Congress
Now,
Avenue.
thank you at this
So-
point is not enough for him, for what he has done for thousands of vets.
And thank you for your
thousands.
service.
Okay.
God bless you.
Thank
you, sir.
Wow. Good work, yeah. Good deal.
Please state your name for the record.
My name is Bob Horner. I'm here as a Florida resident to speak in opposition to the Palm Beach County purchasing more bonds that support the Israeli government. I had my first exposure to what some call the Israeli-Palestine conflict about 10 years ago at my church. Since then, I've traveled several times to Palestine and witnessed the horrors of life as a Palestinian. I've seen firsthand what it's like living under a military occupation. I've seen homes, crops, entire villages being destroyed by the IDF. I've also talked to family members, some American family members, who have had their loved ones being murdered by IDF soldiers with total impunity. Each time I've had to apologize to them for what my government is supporting. What I've learned through this effort is that this is simply not an Israeli-Palestine conflict. It is an Israeli-American war against the Palestinian people. Can you imagine U.S. taxpayer money funding Germany during World War II to support the military occupation in Europe, or the Iraqi government during the Gulf War, or even supporting the Russian invasion of the occupation of Ukraine? This is exactly what the U.S. is doing ever since 1948 to the tune of well over $160 billion. And this is exactly what Palm Beach County is supporting. Last year, I attended the Jewish Voices for Peace conference in Baltimore, along with over 2,000 Jewish people from all across the country. This is where I learned of these municipal bonds and how they are fueling the Israeli apartheid government and its ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people. I was encouraged to learn that many businesses, churches, and municipal governments are now divesting from these bonds because of their moral conscience. My church, the United Methodist Church, has already divested from Israeli bonds. Municipalities from all across the country, in fact the world, are doing the same because of the massive killing and starvation caused by the Israeli government. I am here to ask the members of this board to do much the same, to stop investing in Israeli bonds that fuel genocide, and use our taxpayers' money to fuel peaceful humanitarian causes that our county desperately needs. For God's sakes, please do your part and let the people in Palestine and the people in Israel, who I know many, live in peace and stop this supporting the senseless killing of innocent people. Thank you very much.
Sir, are you a Palm Beach County resident? Okay, thank you. Mayor, can I ask a question of our attorney?
Of course.
Attorney, on some of these cards, doesn't provide an address or a last name. Is there any requirement to this information being filled out on public comments? Because to me, it matters if they're a county resident or not.
They're supposed to list an address on it.
If they do not, there's like 3 or 4 cards that say private address. You can get back to us on this.
So some people have their name and address, their address protected under Florida law, so it could be those circumstances. Whatever the board decides to do, it just has to be consistent. But I could see the circumstance where someone doesn't want to list their address publicly because they're protected for some reason that the state recognizes.
Okay, and last name?
I think they have to put their name, or they can ask that their address be protected if they list it. But the board has to decide how it wants to proceed and do that consistently. So if we want to require that everybody list their address and just put on it that it's protected so it's not disclosed, that would be an option, but I actually think it's the easier route to go if they put a private address and list Palm Beach County, that are Palm Beach County resident, and put the name.
Yeah, because
Full name.
I think it matters to us whether they're a county resident or not. So I just thought I asked these questions because, I mean, all I'm getting here is Bob. And I apologize, sir, about using you as an example. It's just, this doesn't say anything.
If the person doesn't want to put a full name, you can decide not to read a card or to not allow the person to speak. You have that right.
Do the rules currently say they have to put a full name,
It just requires the name.
but doesn't say full name?
I think it contemplates the full name, but it doesn't.
I don't know if this is the right time, but is this where we can give direction without opposition to look into this matter a little further? Would that be okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Are you finished? Commissioner Sacks, you're recognized.
Well, we're the Palm Beach County Commission. I mean, should I go to Broward County or Dixie or Union and talk to them about doing something? I don't think so. And if anybody here afraid to put their name down, should certainly be afraid to come on up here and be on TV. So I would suggest that we look into this, Mr. Oddie, because if there is a legal reason that a name is protected, possibly because they're a confidential informant, they should put that down. If not, if you're in the public right now, the public must know who's speaking. You have our names. I don't think anybody should be afraid to give their name and their address if they're going to speak up to the public. I think the public, you, deserve to know who's speaking up in front of you. So please, Mr. Oddie, if we could have a decision by our legal team as to whether anybody could come before the Board of County Commissioners and refuse to give a name or address. And if that's the case, give us a legal decision. Right now, until we get that decision, I guess it's up to the mayor. But I don't think anybody here wants to hear from anybody who is afraid to give their name. I do. Okay, thank you so much. I don't care. Thank you.
Excuse me. So what we're going to do, anyone who took time out of their day to come here today, they're going to be heard. Thank you. Absolutely. Going forward, we will discuss as a board if there's any policy changes or ways that the board would like to address this differently. I will support that. I do think we should at least, at minimum, if they can't provide a full address, have a circle that says Palm Beach County resident, yes or no, with speaker cards. We need to know if they are living in Palm Beach County when we are hearing them, because we want to make sure that our residents are being heard. So other than that, today we are going to hear any card of anyone that came all the way downtown today.
All right, we have Christine Stapleton, we got Rachel Smith, Linda Smith, Samuel Centrone, and Drew Martin and Karen Ching. I apologize about the rest.
Hi, I'm Christine Stapleton. I'm a 40-year resident of Palm Beach County and a 35-year investigative reporter with the Palm Beach Post newspaper. I'd like to refer you to Florida's Sunshine Law and Public Records Law when you're talking about whether or not people have to identify themselves in order to speak in public, at public meetings, or to get public records. And I'll leave it at that. Anyway, I'm going to speak just to the four corners of the 29-page investment policy. I'm not going to go into morality and all the other things. I read the 29-page investment policy statement, and I have some concerns. The policy is clear. Our objectives, in order of priority, are number one, safety, number two, liquidity, and number three, the market rate of return. So let's talk about safety. If safety is our number one mandate, U.S. Treasuries are the safest investment on the planet. Israel bonds are a step outside the risk curve and such a far step outside the risk curve that the 29-page investment policy statement has actually created policy procedures to assess the investment in Israeli bonds as we hold them. So there's that. And they are investment grade, but they are exposed to regional and geopolitical shocks. And that's happening right now. All three major rating agencies, S&P, Fitch, Moody's, have downgraded Israel since the start of the Gaza war. That's not politics. That's a financial signal, and it should be a signal to investors. Our policy also says we must diversify so that the failure of any one issuer does not place an undue burden on the county. We currently have $1 billion invested in a single foreign sovereign, one country, and that is a concentration of risk. Now let's talk liquidity. Treasuries trade in the deepest, most liquid market in the world. You can trade them today. When it comes to the Israeli bonds, they are unlisted. They have limited transferability, and there is no secondary market to trade them on. I don't know if you understand what that means, but please understand what that means. If we need that money tomorrow because of Cat 5 comes here and we have $1 billion worth of damage, and we have bonds that are sitting there, we can't they're not liquid, okay? So let's keep that in mind. And, oh shit. I will give you the rest of this, but I'll print this out and give it to y'all. I have a lot more issues that I'd like to.
Thank you, ma'am. And just one sec. Administrator Abruzzo, what were we yielding in bonds prior to investing what we do now? What revenues were we bringing back from our investments prior to investing in Israel bonds?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
And for the record, please note that Clerk Caruso has joined us.
Yes. So when I became the clerk and comptroller, our entire investment portfolio was yielding a $27 million return, 100% of our investments. When we went heavily into Israel bonds and that $35 million, which now, Madam Mayor, we are probably closer to over $50 million a year, but the clerk is here. That said, so at that point in time, 15% of our investment was yielding well over what 100% of our return was several years prior.
And Clerk, would you like to confirm what we're currently yielding from our bonds?
Right now, we are on track to earn about $50 million, as the administrator was saying.
So these are millions of dollars.
Return percentages, not dollars.
Would you like to address the percentages?
Our current investment in Israel bonds just recently was it was for 4.5%.
How many years?
It's a
Fixed rate?
Go
Madam
ahead,
Mayor.
Clerk. Yes.
They're still subject to market
Would you like to
volatility.
answer? If not,
it's a 3-year term.
Yeah, they are.
thank you. All right, ma'am, this isn't,
Well, there is
Back
a
and
mix of
forth.
2- and 3-year term bonds.
okay, thank you.
Always pay more. That's the way the market
Please do not call out. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Rachel Smith, and I've come here today to voice my concerns about Project Tango. My first question to all of you is, at what point did our elected officials forget that they work for us? It's becoming increasingly clear that the thousands of residents in Palm Beach County are opposed to the building of this hyperscale AI data center, and for great reason, but it seems as though that is not being taken into consideration. As we're all aware, this project proposes massive health and environmental risks for our communities. Noise, air, and water pollution being 3 of the main concerns, as well as the health and safety of the residents of Arden and the students of Saddleview Elementary School. It blows my mind that with all of your community pushback from your constituents, that this is still even being considered. Commissioner Baxter said that it's already been approved and there's nothing that we can do, but I refuse to believe that. We can start by having all of you vote no at the April 23rd meeting. If their zoning amendments do not get passed, it will throw a wrench in this project, which is exactly what needs to happen. I went to the town hall last week expecting to hear the results of studies done by the developers. Instead, I left with more questions. There's been plenty of research done on the risk and harm of data centers around the country, so what makes this one different? Project manager Ernie Cox stated that this data center will only use 5,000 gallons of water per day because of a closed loop system with dry cooling instead of evaporation methods. As I research dry cooling methods with AI data centers, the one downside that I keep seeing is that they do not work efficiently in areas that are prone to extremely high temperatures and high humidity, which are the exact conditions of the location proposed for Project Tango. In my opinion, there is no physically possible way that this hyperscale data center can run on 5,000 gallons per day in one of the hottest parts of the state, and I hope that you think about the ridiculousness of that statement. It's things like this, a distortion of facts, that lead to skepticism, confusion, and community outrage. The commissioners' meeting is in less than 2 months, and the details of this project are still not publicly available. And I'm not talking about a misleading website created by the developers. If this project is already approved, like Commissioner Baxter said it was, then myself and so many residents would like to see concrete evidence that these systems will work and will be safe for the residents and children nearby, although I believe that they won't. Mr. Cox also told me in a conversation before the town hall that there will be no backup generators. It seems that they'll be tapping into the FPL substation. From an investment standpoint, that makes absolutely no sense. The website that they've created does nothing to address those concerns. Will there be backup batteries? Are they tapping directly into FPL? And if there's backup batteries, does that increase the risk of lithium fires? Also, because of NDAs with FPL, we're not allowed to learn the electrical load of this facility to have an understanding of how our residential power could potentially be impacted. The secrecy is frustrating. Those are the questions we expected to have answered at the town hall, and instead we got diversions, blame games, and ideas presented to us. The fact alone that the initial zoning application was for a data and information processing facility, not a hyperscale AI data center, should be enough for all of you to shut this down. They are two completely different things. There's so many things that don't make sense to me about this project, and I feel like this entire project is shrouded in secrecy, deception, and people saying, just trust us. I'm asking all of you to vote against the zoning expansion of Project Tango at the April 23rd meeting, except Commissioner Baxter, because she already publicly stated that she will be voting no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Linda Smith, Jupiter, Florida, unincorporated Palm Beach County, Sierra Club, Loxahatchee Group. We're all full of ass today, so am I. So number one, I understand Project Tango is half-baked, but you can negotiate hard for noise reduction and containment, especially the low-frequency sound, the LFN. I Googled and got immediately confused. Let's not trust my interpretations of AI. You can hire an independent acoustical engineer, and make recommendation and associated costs. If the developer does not pay for these, Palm Beach may have to do the right thing and pay the associated costs. After all, the 2016 Board of County Commissioners approved the original developer's amendments. Like the agricultural reserve, we're being killed by 1,000 amendments. There are many other potential landmine development amendments approved by this and previous boards just waiting to explode throughout the county. I also ask you to negotiate for a dark sky compliant exterior lighting. This is not a big ask. Project Tango is too close to the National Loxahatchee Wildlife Refuge, Stormwater Treatment Area West, and sleeping residents. Ask number two. As soon as possible, write into our zoning laws the definition and restrictions for all future hyper AI facilities. Write them to benefit the hard-won natural areas and residents, not developers. Number three, Project Tango Water, if they do use the closed-loop system, consider the health and safety of this chemically contaminated water disposal. If trucked off-site, where is it going? What penalties are in place if there is a spill on the site or in transit? 4, ask the Commission to pass a resolution or proclamation to reduce single-use plastics and packaging on county properties and procurement and operations. Possibly reinstitute Plastic 561, and I have to look up more on that. Number 5, and lastly, asking for an RFP that asks companies to put together a program that can reduce our waste by 50% or more, which would cost less than the $1.5 billion and be completed in less than 9 years. Should a viable proposal come in, we can close the Ref 1 as scheduled, which is great, and not have to build Ref 1R. You will never know unless you ask. And why is it that other areas in the United States are not looking to new incinerators being built, and other locations are actually closing their existing incinerators early. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Samuel Cintron, Drew Martin, and Karen Ching. I'll leave it at that. Is that okay?
Good afternoon, Sam Cintron. I'm with the Sierra Club. I want to talk about the reusable supplies. We are getting full of landfill space, and we have a couple of items that we'd like to get our foot in the door to get renewable energies, janitorial supplies. We have recyclable trash bags, which can be fit in most of the county. Biodegradable trash bags. We have eco-friendly printer ink. We have copy paper, which I understand is built by sugarcane fibers as a possible, use of that in our system. I like reverse osmosis systems at an industrial scale. I like to know, but I understand we need to have the county on board, and I'm going through some initial steps, but I need to get what is it? I've been to the purchasing department in the county, and I need to know what we need from the board members to get on board in this plan. It's PFAS is contaminant. It's filling our brains with most citizens, and these are important issues that need to be addressed. I like to try to contact the rest of all the commissioners to see what it takes to get on board and get these things going on, get our foot in the door, and get some, these supplies accepted. Get our foot in the door, one or two items, and take it from there. I hope to be contacting you soon and getting your approval. Thanks.
Mr. Martin, please go ahead.
Yes, Drew Martin, I'm here on behalf of the Sierra Club, Loxahatchee Group. Nice to see all you commissioners today, and we have a full house. That's great. A couple of things. I want to mention this incinerator issue, and one thing is we have found out that the airport is really not recycling, and there's a lot of recycling that could happen at the airport, and composting could happen. San Francisco Airport has all kinds of composting and recycling. We would also like to, I attended the Solid Waste Authority board meeting, and there were some plans to share a site that they have and use that site to do some various composting work. And we hope that will happen. It said they have to do some research on that. On the this Project Tango, I know the commission doesn't want to do too much, and I know the mayor said she opposes it, but her hands are tied. But it seems to me there are things that could be done. First of all, the charter states that you are not required to approve anything that's bad for the public health. I think there's pretty good evidence that this project could have negative impacts on public health. I was very disappointed. I attended the mayor's meeting, and I was disappointed not with the mayor, but with the people on the panel who seemed either unknowing or reluctant to give out information. Now, one thing they said is that they're using this kind of closed cooling system. It seems to me that when it's 115 degrees, 120 degree temperature, that this is going to have a problem. Are you going to be able to shut this down if it's violating the rules, or there's a risk of fire. Or, you know, because this is going to be a big investment and they're not going to want to shut it down voluntarily. I am concerned that the water that they're planning to use isn't going to be available when the time comes. Or, you know, we're in a 15-year drought right now in some of the counties, and I think there is a limit on water, and I think we need to be careful. I don't think the Palm Beach Aggregates has a great record on environmental issues. And I think that is one of the reasons I'm not very happy with this project, because the people that are proposing it are not the kind of people that seem to have a strong environmental record. Rock mining has caused huge damage to Palm Beach County, and the Sierra Club has sued on 2 occasions and won in court over the county to force you to stop rock mining. I think if you go forward with this Project Tango, you are going to be sued again, not by us, but by the residents in Arden, and I think you will lose that suit because I think you have not met the charter requirements. Thank you.
Karen Chingshin Yeho from 1305 Via de Pepe, Boynton Beach, Florida. I want to respectfully request for the board commissioner to really consider a property title fraud task force and scam and division, helping the clerk of court to stop property title fraud scams. I even petitioning to the Florida Supreme Court about property title fraud scam. One of the scam is this. My real estate property at 1101-1103 was taken from me. The building was demolished. My inventory was taken, all by City of Boynton Beach insiders. The former mayor sold the property for $342,100 for book 33432-00786 for $342,100 on his last day of his work, Stephen Grant, former mayor. The City of Boynton Beach purchased the exact same property for $868,958 at the book 31823/00608 book and page. To cover up this crime, they superimposed $1,000 fine without evidence, put a lien on my property, 1101-1103 North Federal Highway. Then went on, demolished the building, first put a sign, if I ever enter the building again, I will be arrested, and put out the sign that the building will be demolished. All this while, I appealed to the petitioning to a federal court for eminent domain. Do they care? No, they didn't care. Does the City of Boynton Beach know that? Yes, I went to the City of Boynton Beach commissioner meeting. I bring up all this evidence, okay? And I did not get any result. So there is insider fraud. And with the property fraud scam task force, this could be having result. My building could have saved. My inventory could have been saved. So that is something that Palm Beach County should take into consideration. Everybody's property is important. I'm not the only victim. There are other victims prior to my case. So hopefully, commissioners, please reconsider it and having a task force and victims protection. Thank you for your attention.
Clerk, would you like to comment on what your office is doing in regards to the fraud going on with deeds and title work?
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to say that I'm sorry that her property was taken like that. Property deed fraud is certainly on the rise in Palm Beach County as well as the rest of the state of Florida. It's something that we are addressing in the clerk's office by promoting through public service announcements and by going from community to community our property fraud alert system. And that's where you sign up online. You attach a email account to your property. And if something does affect your property, then you get immediately notified by email that somebody's that affected your title. And then you can look it up to see if it was an outright theft of your property or just a mechanic's lien or whatever, or a mortgage that was recorded. So we've been very successful. I know that the Administrator Abruzzo started the program and was very behind it. And right now, we currently have about 110,000 of the 650,000 properties in Palm Beach County signed up under Property Fraud Alert. Last month alone, we added 26,000 properties to that list that are signed up and protected by our Property Fraud Alert. So it's something that is out there. The whole public should know about it. And I appreciate you coming forward and bringing it to the light.
In this
Thank you so
particular
much.
case, I saw you on TV, and you did a great job getting the public announcements out, and I appreciate that. The scam is this.
Ma'am, we did hear you, and I
Okay.
promise you, it is on their radar, and they're doing the best that they can.
And Mayor, if I could add to it, I recently went to Tallahassee to talk to legislators about giving me more tools in the toolbox to fight a property for deed fraud. And there's a bill currently filed with the state legislature to do just that. And I won't get into the details of it, but it has to do with notaries and us being able to verify that they're valid or not, and among other things.
Commissioner
appreciate
Marino,
this.
you're recognized.
Clerk, I'm on your website now. Can you tell us where they might find that? I know I have registered, but I'm not seeing it here, so could you?
Okay, it's very simple. You go to mypalmbeachclerk.com/PFA, Property Fraud Alert.
Perfect.
And it's very easy to sign up on. It takes about 2-3 minutes.
Thank you, Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor.
That is it for our public comment cards. So we are adjourned. Have a great day.